everyone, this is Mila again, and I hope you're having a good week so far. And you may remember me from the transportation video that I had made with my husband Joe. But now today I'm going to be talking about education in America, and I'm interviewing my son Tony because he's had a very interesting, winding kind of education that we'll be able to see different types and how you might end up maybe not even going into what you really thought you were going to do with all your education. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention a few things about the different kinds of schooling we have in America. First, we have what's called public school, and it's for grades kindergarten through 12th grade, and it's usually 5 to 18 years old. And then some people opt to have homeschooling. They homeschool their children, so they're at home with them, and the parents teach them. And sometimes they have groups of homeschoolers that get together and they'll do activities together. Then there's another private school option for people. Some people want that because they want a different type of an education for their child. They might send them to schools run by Catholics or another religious institution. They have Montessori schools, all different kinds. So, just first of all, what did you want to be when you were little? What did you think you wanted to be when you grew up?
Oh man, I wanted to be an astronaut.
Did you?
I went back and forth between astronaut and fireman.
Oh. For a while, I think you wanted to be a scientist too. I remember that stage.
Astronauts are scientists.
Yeah, you're right. They are absolutely. So we'll see what happened with that dream because we just don't know when we're that young. So elementary school is kindergarten through fifth grade. Can you tell me about it a little bit? Do you remember a little bit about it?
um, yeah, I don't remember much about prior to elementary school, but I remember I went to an elementary school in California. It was called Westwood, and because it's in California, the buildings were all separated, which was interesting coming to Massachusetts and then suddenly having all of your classes in one room or one building rather.
Right.
But the first couple of years were, I don't know, they this was around the time when the first sort of ideas of Common Core were coming through. Common Core being the new were sort of like standardized education that they use here in the United States. And California schools in particular were one of the test beds for that. I think I don't remember a whole lot academically, to be perfectly honest. I do remember that I had a unique experience of having only, across 5 grades, I only had 3 teachers.
That is true. Why is that?
I don't know why the teachers decided to change grades, but I had 1 teacher for first grade, 1 for second and third, and then 1 for fourth and fifth.
Okay, where did you go to high school? Did you go to Littleton High School?
No, I didn't. I actually went to a regional vocational school located in Westford, the next town over, called Neshoba Valley Technical High School. And their program was structured a little bit differently, where in a typical high school, it's interesting. Like when I was starting to go to high school, a lot of high schools were transitioning to slightly more of a university or college model where you picked the classes each year. There were still educational requirements, so you still had to pick like a math class and a science class and a history class.
Mm-hmm.
But you had a little bit more flexibility of what classes you could choose. And in we called it the Tech. At Neshoba Tech, we got to pick classes that way, but we also had a second, basically entirely second set of education. 1 week would be academics, English, math, science, etc. And then the other week would be your shop week or your tech week, where you would go and for the whole week, you would work in a vocational training program. A traditional, I should say, vocational school will have mostly the trades, what we call the trades, or otherwise known as blue collar work. right? Construction, well, carpentry, I think was the special in Neshoba Tech, electrical, automotive bodywork, automotive like engine work. Obviously, I didn't do that one because I don't remember what it's called. Um, uh, and I think plumbing was the other one. But Neshoba Tech's program also incorporated other technical programs. Um, Computer science was the one that I was in. There was engineering, robotics. I think they now have a veterinary program.
I
They
think I heard
didn't
of
when
that.
I was
Yeah.
there, but
Yep.
they have a medical, not a medical assisting, a nursing assistant program where um, you do training there. And it's the unique thing about the tech that sort of sets it apart, or a vocational education in general, is that most of the programs that you take part in, you actually graduate with a high school diploma and also a technical certificate. That can take the form of just a little diploma that says you completed the program, but some programs, like the nursing program and I believe the automotive program as well, you graduate with an actual like national level certification in that field. So
Right.
somebody graduating from this program is a certified nursing assistant, also called a CNA.
The one thing I wanted to say, like I know in some countries, I know in Germany anyway, when you're in, I think it's eighth grade or sixth grade, you have to take an exam. And then they decide from that one exam if you can go to gymnasium, which is to prepare for college, or if you go to the trade schools. And that's it. You went to college. Where did you go when you graduated?
So when I graduated, I ended up going to UMass Lowell,
For
University of
what?
Massachusetts in Lowell. I was originally a computer science major. Um, then I discovered I'm not very good at programming, and I had to drop out of that program, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah.
but that is something I found interesting is that background in very stark contrast to what I do now. It keeps popping up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I sometimes at work, if I'm trying to do something that the tools I have aren't enough, I'll write a little something that will do what I want it to do. So it's funny how that 1.5 year of college keeps popping up.
Yep. Yeah, it is. All education, nothing's wasted, I think. You
Mm-hmm.
never know. Like I did music in high school and it pops up everywhere. I was a choir director and like one of the best things I ever did. I didn't go to college for it, but I know how to read music and it's really just made a big difference in everything I do. But 4 years of education, you had that degree and you went and you got another certification too for so you went for phlebotomy too, right?
Yes. So, sort of along the sort of twisting path that was my education, I took a public health course, just introduction to public health. And I learned of the existence of the field, the job field known as cardiac rehab, cardiac rehabilitation, which I didn't know existed before. And I was reading through the textbook. I actually think I still have the textbook over here. I was reading through the textbook and I was like, cardiac rehab is the application of exercise physiology to rehabilitate patients who have experienced cardiac events, such as a heart attack. They have a pacemaker, they have heart failure, they're suffering from cardiac disease. And that was really my first touch into the world of medicine, as opposed to what's considered non-clinical practice, such as athletic training or
Mm-hmm.
sport exercise programs.
So it sounds like we can go to school and learn things, but you can go and get extra learning after you graduate high school and college and get certified for things. You can pick up a course over here separately at a different college. You don't necessarily, so you learn there, and then you're also learning just by looking and seeing what there is to do at the job. So education in America, I mean, in life is just about everywhere if you're looking for it, right? If you're just interested. So at MGH where you
Yeah.
work, don't you sometimes they bring in people to talk too, right? Like high scientists and things, and you can go to those lectures for free, right?
Yes. So Massachusetts General Hospital is connected to Harvard University. They have an arrangement. They work directly together. But they also bring in guest lecturers. The program is called Grand Rounds. Basically, they'll bring in like the expert in a field, and they'll come to the hospital. Well, not physically anymore, but they used to come to the auditorium. There's an auditorium, and anyone can go to these lectures if they have the time between 12 and 12:45. On Wednesday, they'll have cardiology grand rounds, medical grand rounds, oncology, cancer grand rounds, and they'll just have this whole series of speakers where it's fascinating listening to some of these scientists talk about their work because they really understand their work. It's their job, but they're also really good at explaining it to people that don't understand. The person who basically invented the concept of an artificial heart, he came and talked, and he talked about, a pump assist device, left ventricular assist devices, which are little pumps that sit in your heart and they push blood if your heart is having trouble pushing blood. I didn't know anything about these things, and I walked out of there feeling like I didn't know everything, but I had a much better grasp on what these things are and how they work, which is helpful because at the time I was working in cardiology, I saw patients with these things all the time. I saw a tube going into a chest. That was the extent of my understanding. So they, MGH and through Harvard University will bring in these guest lecturers, and not only is it not discouraged for people to attend, it's actually encouraged for people to attend. So if, for example, if a nurse is able to get off her shift, it's encouraged that people go to these lectures. I know they sound boring because I'm calling them lectures, but they're very interesting and they're very informative. I've found in my experience that it's very important to know something, but I think it's more important to know how to find something. The best quality I've ever found in anyone I've ever worked with is admitting when you don't know something. And as you get up higher in the educational world, that becomes harder and harder to do. I think a lot of people see people with PhDs and MDs or master's degrees in these highly advanced degrees, and they expect them to know everything. And I don't think that's the most important thing when it comes to education. It is important to have a basic framework. You need to learn how to walk before you can run.
I hope that everybody has a good week. And thank you, Tony, for talking to us. It was very enjoyable.
Stay safe out there.
Yep, you too. Bye.